Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. The Super Bowl is set. It's the Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots. The Patriots, the early favorite, according to the people that establish those things, and understandably so. And yet, the way the Falcons are playing, they certainly have a great shot in this game. Lenny, I picked both winners, and obviously I struggled over the game with New England-Pittsburgh, but as I concluded and said prior to, you just don't beat the Patriots at home in a conference championship game. That certainly proved to be the case.
It did. Shows you what I know. I went 0 for 2. I picked both road teams. So, look, give those two teams credit, and it was very similar type games the way it played out. I mean, almost, to a T. Brady's numbers and Ryan's numbers, very similar. The wide receiver stars, Jones, and the Patriots receiver, each 9 catches, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns to a T. Turnovers, forced 2, didn't make any. So you look at how these games played out, although the Patriots, I should say the Falcons, really put their foot on the accelerator early and put that game away early, unlike the Patriots, which did it more in the second half. At the end, it looks like a lot of the same thing. Could make for a very compelling Super Bowl. You hope so, because we haven't seen but maybe one good playoff game out of 10 thus far.
Well, you expect it from Jones. You don't expect it from Hogan, obviously. But then again, Tom Brady makes stars of everyone. And when you look back at these games, in retrospect, and sometimes the hot team just carries it all the way through, but these two hot teams look like teams that were worn out. Just watching the games, they looked worn out. And they both had some injury issues. No excuses, but that's the disadvantage of having to play the extra game.
Well, there's the extra game, and also keep this in mind. Green Bay was 4-6. Pittsburgh was 4-5 at one point in the season. And they really, Aaron Rodgers famously said they were going to run the table. And, really for them, the playoffs started 8 weeks ago instead of 3 weeks ago. For the Steelers, not too much of a difference there either. They pretty much, they had a little bit more margin for error, but they pretty much had to run the table as well. So that put a lot more pressure on these teams early on. Atlanta, wasn't sitting comfortably, maybe like New England was, but they had their division wrapped up before Week 17. Obviously, the Patriots as well.
No doubt. So it's going to be an interesting game, and I think it will be a very good game based upon the way these two teams are playing, because we've had a lot of duds in the NFL playoffs this year. Let's hope it's a really good game in Houston in 2 weeks, and of course we'll be covering and watching and enjoying in the process. Nothing new where the Saints are concerned. One report over the weekend about the Colts and Sean Payton, which doesn't seem to really have any traction, and the bottom line is that was prior to anyway. Sean Payton's here, Senior Bowl's coming up, he's got hires to make. That's the focus.
Yeah, and interestingly, both sides have really kind of diffused this thing. And you're right, Senior Bowl, the interesting news in my mind, putting that Peyton to the Colts kind of blip on the screen, if you will, aside, was the fact that apparently the Saints talked to Jim Tomsula about their defensive line job. You're talking about a guy who was an NFL head coach who sat out last year. That would have been interesting, but it appears he's going to land with the Redskins. And, but still, obviously, they are moving towards trying to fill the spots on their staff. I think you'll see a lot of activity and a lot of news come out of Senior Bowl week in Mobile where that's concerned.
Yeah, we look forward to that as well. And, of course, we'll have details on everything that transpires. The New Orleans Pelicans, coming off of an incredibly embarrassing loss, their worst loss of the season, go from worst to best. They play the defending champions, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and obviously that's a tall task. I would expect they'll rise to the occasion and play these guys tough.
Yeah, look how well they played Golden State at home earlier this year. You'd think, look, they've had a couple of days. Cleveland, while they had a day off, had a tough overtime game on Saturday night against San Antonio. Look, you see this all the time in the NBA, things that you don't expect. I will not be surprised in the least if the Pelicans win this game on Monday night. But this is a really tough stretch they've got coming up, these 4 games in 7 days with OKC and San Antonio and Washington all at home between now and Sunday.
College basketball, the story continues to be the UNO Privateers. They got a good road win at Central Arkansas to go to 6-1 in first in the Southland Conference. Home game coming up this week, and obviously they're in a great position. We said it a few weeks ago. This was a year where, with their experience, they'd have a chance because the conference isn't as top-heavy as it's been in recent years, in particular with Stephen F. Austin.
Exactly. And look, you win with seniors. You win with good guard play, and they've got both of those right now. And look, coming up on the halfway point of the conference season, UNO's got a great chance to find themselves in a terrific position at the end of the year. Of course, they're not going to get an at-large bid. They're going to have to win the conference tournament in Katy the second week of March. But the way the Southland sets up their tournament, if you're one of the top 2 seeds, you've only got to win 2 games to do it. You're in a great position where everybody just keeps playing into you. And you just talked about that with the NFL playoffs, about that, those extra games and how it'll tire you out. That's the position you want to be in.
Another top 5 ranking for LSU in college baseball, and we talked about which polls or which ones that rank teams are the more notable ones, but you still give credence to all, and this one, collegiate baseball, isn't one of those, but it's still out there, and they rank them 4th, TCU 1. Again, we keep talking about that because it keeps showing up that way, that these 2 teams are on a collision course in Houston.
Yep, they'll play in the College Classic at Minute Maid Park early in the season. Looking forward to that one. The Raging Cajuns up there as well, as they should be. That could be a very good team. I mean, obviously, a lot of the focus is going to be on what happens in Baton Rouge. But look, we get to June. If both of those teams are headed to Omaha, I won't be surprised.
Getting closer to signing day. And, of course, this will be the last time we say it at this time of the year. It's going to change, goes without saying. But bottom line is that you're going to start seeing some commitments made. We saw some over the weekend, and we're going to see more here within the next few days. And, obviously, it's of paramount interest to the likes of a guy in Willie Fritz locally and a guy in Ed Ogeron just up the road.
Yeah, and Coach O got some big news Friday night with Racing McMath from Edna Carr committing to LSU. That is a big get. You've seen him. I've seen him. He is a very talented player and has got a chance to make an impact. And that's a spot where LSU needs to get some guys to add to the depth there.
No question. And, of course, where other high school sports are concerned, our daily reports on basketball, soccer, wrestling, and full reports from over the weekend on all 3 sports. And we're getting closer. Wrestling state championships in a couple of weeks. Big dual meet this week, the biggest of the year, Brother Martin at Holy Cross. On Wednesday night, basketball, we're deep into district play, and power rankings are getting clearer. Soccer, we had a good matchup in women's soccer. Girls soccer, women's, girls, it's all good, with Mount Carmel beating Vanderbilt Catholic 2-1 this past weekend at SportsNOLA.com.
Right, and more to come this week. Stay tuned. We'll have more details on that as we continue to count down towards championship time in the winter sports.
SportsNOLA TV, Monday night, 6 p.m. We'll have Mark Schlesinger, the head coach of the UNO Privateers, on with us, and we'll also answer the question, who should be the MVP in the NFL? It's a compelling question, and remember, it only counts the regular season.
That's right. But I got a feeling that one of the guys who's playing in the Super Bowl may end up hoisting the trophy on the Saturday night before.
I think Hogan deserves it.
Maybe so.
Okay, I'm just kidding. It's all good. Lenny, as always, thanks. We'll do it again soon.
All right, we'll see you later this week.
That's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank. First NBC Bank is a proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. He's Lenny. I'm Kenny. Have a great week, and God bless you.